and that's it, right? And to this day, Chernobyl is still active, and to this day, there still is. Fuck! Did I just stall? What an idiot! To talk about Fukushima a bit, you know, that drama in Japan with the nuclear power plant and all. So it's basically another Chernobyl that's happening right now. Just let me just tell you a bit about Chernobyl. What happened in Chernobyl is they couldn't control the nuclear reaction within the reactor anymore because they couldn't cool it down. Okay, so that's basically what's also happening in Fukushima. When you cannot control a nuclear reaction, when you cannot keep it cool enough, keep the reactor cool enough, what you get is a nuclear reaction that goes out of hand. Okay, so it eats up, and it's terrible basically. And when that happened in Pripyat in Ukraine, which was at the time a Soviet republic, is they sent the military and they threw sand at it. Okay, why? Because throwing water on it is no good, because the water just vaporizes, and the calcaire, the thing that there is in the water, you know, that when the water dries out, there still is something a bit, it's white calcaire. I mean, there's rocks of calcaire. I'll find the English word somewhere. So yeah, and what else? Yeah, so all these calcaire, which I'll find the word, just dried and stayed on it, and it kept accelerating the nuclear reaction, and basically it went out of control. So what they did was they sent people and they put sand on it with helicopters, and the nuclear reaction was so strong, actually so strong, that they sent robots, because they couldn't send men. They sent robots to put sand on the nuclear reaction and to take the graphite bars out of the nuclear reactor, and it was like completely rubbish, and the thing was so radioactive that even the robots stopped working. Okay, so you have to picture that in your mind. Even the robots, electronic machines, remotely controlled, weren't working because the radioactive reaction was so high. Why? Because what's radioactive thing is basically something that acts on radio waves. Okay, so something that's remotely controlled will not work, because the radio waves are completely not blurred, but you know, disturbed. Okay, and then they tried to fly helicopters on the scene. Okay, and they tried to use the helicopters to just drop sand on the fucking plant. And what happened was the sand melted, and it all became all more hot. And the worst part is the helicopters. One helicopter crashed because it hit a big metal antenna on the top of the nuclear power plant, and other helicopters, they couldn't fly anymore because of the radiation. Right, the radiation was so intense that they couldn't fly anymore because their instruments weren't working anymore. Okay, so a fucking mess, right? And what the Soviets did is they just took miners, lots and lots and lots of miners, and told them to basically just go there and on a suicide mission, on what is clearly a suicide mission. My sister lives here, and I don't know what I'm doing here, but anyway, and they put sand on it, and they all died basically. Okay, only a handful of them are still alive today. Now let's talk about Fukushima. Fukushima started the same way. First of all, you've got to. There's one thing, right? Who the fuck thought out the process of putting a nuclear reactor? I'm sorry, 6 nuclear reactors on the biggest goddamn quake thing of the planet. Who the fuck thought about this? You know? And they didn't even make it earthquake proof thing, you know? They couldn't. It's a fucking nuclear power plant. What did you expect, you know? So that's my first point. The second point is, we all knew that it was going to be a fucking big mess. So why didn't they announce it right away? We're not a population of 5-year-olds, okay? We're not a population of 5-year-olds who scream and giggle when we see pee-pee parts, right? We're adult men, and you know, the government can tell us what's really happening, okay? So there's no need to say, oh, we know what's happening. There's no problem. It's all controlled. It's all perfect. It's all fantastic. It's gonna work perfectly well. Don't worry. Right. Okay. So then they started giving the thing grades, right? So what they started to do is they said that it was a grade 3 on a scale of 7. 7 being Chernobyl and 5 being 3 Mile Island or 5 Mile Island or whatever the fuck it is. And then the grade went up and up and up and up, and they continued saying, oh, it's no problem, we're controlling it, and hiding all the goddamn mess that was happening, okay? So now we've reached the number 7, okay, the 7th grade, the Chernobyl level, okay? And now what are they saying? They're saying that they are throwing newspapers at it. Used newspapers. What the fuck? This is something my 11-year-old sister would do, okay? This is something that I would do, like Bill Maher said in his latest program, right? It's completely stupid to have reached that level of crazy shit. And another thing is, at first the problem developed itself because they lacked power on a power plant, right? See the irony of the thing. They lacked power for the cooling system. You know, I mean, I could have given them the money to buy a generator, a diesel generator, right? Why didn't the military bring one of those? It's one of the most economically powerful countries. It was, anyway, one of the most economically powerful countries in the world, and their army couldn't bring a fucking generator, or even fire trucks to just launch water on the thing while it was still possible, you know, before it just vaporized all to shit. I mean. And I guess I'm coming to my final point, which is the problem lies essentially within the Japanese inability to deal with failure. Okay, the Japanese have a code of honor that is so strict that if you fail at your job, you're very likely to just commit What do they call it again? It's I don't even remember what they call it, but basically everyone's looking at me on the fucking car. Basically they take a squirt and they just cut like this, you know. But yeah. Anyway, they're very likely to commit suicide. Okay, it's a nation where if you're a 10-year-old and you've got less than A at school, you're very likely to just jump off a bridge, right? So that's a strict code of honor that completely forbids them, prevents them from thinking, from taking a sorry, from taking an operational standpoint, okay, from taking a status standpoint, from looking at what's working and what's not and trying to repair the fucking thing. Okay, so that's my take on it. The problem lies within the very morale and attitude and behavior and custom of that people. Okay, and it's a question of pride also, you know. They didn't want to be helped by any government on the planet. Okay, they told the French and the Americans to just not help them at the beginning of the crisis. Okay, so that's basically what I'm on about. It's sometimes I think that people should just get over themselves, okay, and think from a rational standpoint and not from a standpoint of belief and customs and shit like that, which just screws your mind over and prevents you from making good and rational decisions. I'm not saying that I would have treated the affair better. Of course not, because I'm just a 23-year-old on a motorcycle just rambling about stuff, okay? And I don't know what kind of, I know what kind of problems they had, but I don't know what kind of precise issues they all had there, okay? I have no clue about it. I'm not a scientist, and even though I take great interest in technology and anything linked to it, I don't know. But what I'm saying is, from what I saw and heard on the media, on newspapers and on books about it, what I just said played. What the fuck are you? Fucking. Anyway. So yeah, it played an immense part in that story. Is that still recording? Yes. Good. So yeah, that's my take on Fukushima.